Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Well, I've been working on my workshop quite a while, and one of the things I was doing was emptying out stuff down here in the basement. Well, it seems the house got a little jealous of me taking stuff away and not spending any time working on it. So now I got a problem. The furnace isn't lighting this morning. So I got to go through and examine to see what's wrong with it. I think it's probably a thermocouple, but we'll find out more as we go along. First thing I got to do is get over there, back in the corner, and take the covers off. One of the first things we do whenever we're working on something like this is we clean up the area around it. I know, your house is probably much nicer than this, but this is a back corner and it's in behind the furnace, and I don't get back in here and sweep very often. So I'm going to take the vacuum cleaner and clean up the junk and the dust and the bug stuff and go from there. I think my culprit is this little copper line right down here. That's the thermocouple. When that wears out, and they do wear out because they sit inside a little pilot flame, when that wears out, the pilot goes off. The reason being, that provides a little current that holds the coil open and lets gas flow through the burner control, which is this little die-cast zinc box, and that operates the gas valve and lets gas go through this little pilot line here and keep the pilot. That way when the furnace calls for heat and it turns on the main burner, the pilot is there to light the main burner. And you don't want to have that pilot go out and have the gas burner main gas supply come on, because it'll just flood the house with gas. So that's the safety interlock. You have to have a pilot on before the furnace will allow that main valve to open. And since the thermocouple sits inside a flame, it gets heated. And it's made out of pretty heat resistant material. It'll last a long time. But when it does go, it usually just stops sending a signal, and it shuts off that little pilot valve, turns off the pilot. With the pilot not lit, it won't open the main gas valve, and you're safe. So, we're going to now get down there and take a look at that pilot. And that's going to be fun, because it's always clear back in the back, and I don't know, let's see. You can kind of get an idea of how tight the area is here. I'm sitting on a Workmate toolbox, and the furnace pipe is right here. The chimney for the furnace is right here over my head. So I have just enough room to sit here, and barely enough room to get down there and look in underneath and look at the pilot. So I brought a floor mat, and I'm going to set the floor mat up and lay on the floor mat and crawl in underneath there and see if I can get a look at that pilot. Not a fun part of the job, but it's part of the job. First thing I did is I turned off the electricity. First thing I'm going to do is turn off the electricity. That way I know the box is dead. There's no power in this little area here where I'm working. I'm not going to be working with anything electrical. I'm just going to be working with the thermocouple. But still, you don't want to brush up against something and get a charge. Get the cords up out of the way, and I'll move you guys out of the way for a little bit, and I'm going to grab my toolkit, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be taking a thermocouple out. Kind of an unusual situation. I expected this to have an auto igniter on the pilot. Looks like the pilot might have just gone out. So before I change the thermocouple, I'm going to try to lighten the pilot. See if that'll work. Okay, first thing I need to do is set the valve towards pilot. Little mark here, there's pilot written on the side. There's a notch that lets this button go down so I can ignite the pilot. So we're gonna push that down and see if I can get this thing to light off. Well, the pilot lit. That's putting a good flame around the thermocouple. We'll see if the thermocouple will stay. We'll keep the flame going. I'm going to give it a few seconds to get the thermocouple warm enough to start sending a signal to the gas valve. Well, thermocouple's working. Pilot's staying on. So I think we're good. Now I turn it on around the rest of the way. And the burner comes on. And we have heat. Okay. What might have been a big problem actually turned out to be a small problem. Thermocouple's working fine. The burner's burning good. Everything's okay. Not bad for a furnace that was built in 1960. Still running 60 years later. Almost 64 years later. Well, it's good that I didn't have to show you any more than just that. That was enough of a lesson for today. I wasn't looking forward to having to take anything more off of anything. Kind of like having stuff where it is. Burners are burning really good. This flame's just perfect. No problem at all. And I got the bugs cleaned out of the furnace, so it's good for a long, long time coming. Last time I got this door off, I looked at it when they put in the air conditioning, and that was a year or two after we moved in, so it would have been 2012. There goes the fan. We got heat in the house. I am pleased. Well, that job turned out to be a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I'm not complaining. Very happy. All that happened was the pilot went out. Not sure why the pilot went out. No apparent reason for it to do that. We didn't have a storm. We didn't have anything that would have shut the gas off, unless maybe the gas company did that. The water heater only comes on occasionally, and it has an auto ignite, so it wouldn't know if the pilot went, if the gas went out, it just would go out and it wouldn't light. No pressure. But the furnace, pilot goes out, it won't start. So I was able to just light the pilot, fire off the furnace, and we're back up heating again. Matter of fact, it's getting kind of warm in here. I'm going to have to turn down the thermostat, I think. If you have any suggestions for new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching, and I hope you don't have this problem. Never like working on furnaces. They're always back in a corner, stuffed out of the way where you can't get to them. This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union, without the express written permission of the parents or legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.